Okay, so I think we're going to try to wrap this up today, wrap up the Omer stuff. Here's what I envision. So we have a few more halachos about not harvesting before the Omer is harvested. Then in halacha chaf beis is going to start the halachos about spheres Omer, which is very, very short, 2 paragraphs. Then I want to do that piece from the Rav on the Rambam's shita on not saying Shechianu on spheres Omer. And then that's as much as I plan. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot more we could do in terms of like topics around this area, in terms of like, Shavuos, Omer, Chadash, that kind of thing. Here's my concern. My concern is that we only have 5 weeks till Shavuos, okay? And there's a little, there's some time after that, but I want to make sure we finish Hilchos Talmud Torah, okay? And I also realized that thematically, learning the remaining parts of Talmud Torah is relevant to this time. You know why? I mean, not just because of Torah, but
isn't Matan Torah, which
more specific than that, specifically learning we were kind of almost at the end of Perek Vav, so there's Vav and then Zion. So Vav was about kavod of Temidin Chachamim, and Zion is about nidui. You know what I'm thinking of? Is the deaths of Rabbi Akiva's Temidin was due to the fact that they weren't machabed each other, right? That's one of the shitos, So, and that happened between Pesach and Shavuos. So thematically, it's appropriate as well. So I think what we should do is, after we finish the Omer stuff today, do as much, finish Talmud Torah, and then whatever time is remaining between the end of that and the beginning and Shavuos, we can do other Shavuos related things. We could do Shtei Lechem, we could do Chadash, we could even do like Peket, Leket Peh Shechcha, that kind of thing. We could do Alela Regel. I was looking at those halachos before also, so there's like a lot of fun stuff to do that we could do for Shavuos stuff. Okay, but I'd like to finish Talmud Torah. How's that sound? Okay, all right, so let's go where we started, or where we left off last time. Last thing we read was Temidin Musafin Zion, Tes Zion. So we are now Yud Zion. So the context is you cannot harvest anything before you bring the Omer. But that's only harvests that are like, oh no, sorry, hold on a second here. Okay, so there were exceptions. Okay, fine. Yud Zion. Kavar Bi'arnu, we already explained, She'en Mevin Minachos, V'lo Minchas Nesachim, V'lo Bikurim Min HaChadash Kodem Havasa Omer. So we already explained that we don't bring Minachos or Minchas Nesachim or Bikurim from Chadash before the bringing of the Omer. V'im Hevi Pasal, and if you did, then it's Pasal. V'lo Yavi, and as much as I would love to go into this Isurim Mizbeach and Bikurim, I'm not. I'm just not in the mood. So as much as I would love to, I wouldn't love to.
What
was that? Bekius, yeah, we're doing Bekius. That's all we've ever done. Below Yavi Kodem Lahavas Shtei Lechem, and you cannot bring them before the Lahavas Shtei Lechem, being heavy kasher. But if you do bring it, then it's kasher. I guess the one interesting thing here is that, and not the one interesting thing, the one thing that I want to comment on is, Omer is matir chadash for the hedyot, and Shtei Lechem is matir chadash for mikdash, right? So the interesting thing about this is you see that if you brought it stuff from if you brought chadash before the Omer, it's puzzle. But if you bring it after the Omer but before Shtei Lechem, even though you're not allowed to, it is kasher. So when we say it's matir for that the Shtei Lechem is matir chadash for mikdash, it's matir in terms of lechatchila, but it still would be kasher if you brought it. So it does seem like, in terms of like matir power, seems like there is a tremendous matir power for the Havasa Omer, to the point where it would render Chadash brought as Menachos kasher. I wouldn't have assumed that given the halachos. That statement has no meaning to me in the sense that anyone who brings a mincha from Chadash first makes shechianu. I mean, when I say it has no meaning to me, like I just don't have enough of a framework to be like, oh wow, really? Or like, oh, that makes sense. So let's see if Rambam Bekius says anything here. On Yud Zayin, Minchas Nesachim is hayayin v'hasola shemevin im hakorban hinan nikram nesachim. Okay, so the wine and the flour that is brought with the korban, with the regular korban, is called nesachim, libations. which is interesting because in English, I think libation, I think specifically means wine. I've never heard of the word oil. No, maybe I do have that. Yeah.
I read like maybe some articles saying like water libations. I'm not quite sure if that means
Yeah.
anything like that could.
Right. Yeah, they definitely. Yeah, but I guess when I meant in English, I meant like outside of the Jewish context.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I just wonder, is English is libation ever actually even used in the English context? And it feels like the
libation.
It feels like the type of thing where it's like not. Where it's like when a Jewish person says like stama is sentence where it's like not really an English word.
So the only context in which I've heard it used, and this is not the proper context, is in there's an oral biography of Harry Truman, and this is when he was like close to death, like not close to death, but he was like, it was a couple years before he died maybe, and he during his presidency, like he was not a big drinker, but he would have his afternoon libations during this interview, and meaning like he would drink during that. So that's the term. So I assumed from the fact that he used that term that it was also a term used in the normal sense of like alcohol, like pouring out, for like religious purposes. But I have no idea. You know what we could do? Let's just do this because it's fun. What do you call the thing on Google where you see like word frequency?
Trend?
Is it trends? Google Trends. Yeah, I think so, right? Libation. I don't know how far back it goes though. No, this I don't want. Is there all time? Oh no, this would just be. Isn't there something you could do in books? Google search in books, or something like that. No.
Like trend over centuries.
Go back to trend, you're saying?
No, I mean, no, like what term? Like, is it like on Google?
Word trend over centuries in books. Oh, wait, I saw it. Oh, engram, that's what it's called. Okay. Libation. Definitely went down since the 1800s. Yeah. Okay. So you got to assume that it was, people became less religious.
I wonder how far back it goes.
I think that's as far back as you can go. I mean, I could try going back further. Oh no. I mean, yeah. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. I don't know what to make of the data here. Okay. Anyway, interesting. There goes Google. Okay. Fun. All right. Okay. Tavua shizar. Oh no, we were reading the makbili. Okay, fine. Which hopefully we'll have time to learn. But with bikurim, we don't accept them from him. Oh, that's another area of halakha we could do. We could do bikurim, which is also not very long. We didn't do that, did we? I did so many different things with so many different shiurim and stuff. I don't remember. We didn't do halachos of bikurim in Rambam Bekius, did we? No, I don't think so. Okay, those were very interesting. So that's another Shavuos topic. So, so if you can't bring it before Shavuos, and if you bring it, they just leave it in the mikdash. Okay, so like they don't. It's not like it becomes kosher or anything. Okay, fine. Okay, so machlokas whether every person brings shehachianu or says shehachianu or whether it's just the kohen. Okay, again, I have no framework for that, and he did not provide one. Yotes, moving on. Tavua shezara achar shekarav haomer. Tavua that was planted after the Omer was brought. Ukatsara achar shekarav haomer shalashana haba'a, and it was harvested after the Omer was brought on the following year. It's a suffix whether we bring from it menachos l'chatchila before the bringing of the shtei lechem, right? So in other words, like let's say for example, so the case is like this: Shavuos of 2022 is coming up, right? So after Shavuos of 2022, I plant tavua, okay? So if it had been so then. If I harvest it after the Omer is brought of Shavuos 2023, then it's a suffix if I could bring it menachos from l'chatchila before shtei lechem. Why? since you pass the time of shtei lechem and ksiras Omer, then no. Then you could bring it. But in other words, usually you're not planting things between havas Omer and shtei lechem, right? Usually planting in planting season. Yeah, it's interesting. So it doesn't need to go through a full cycle. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, and I guess the Gemara doesn't paskin. Let's see if Rambam Bekius adds here. L'chadchila yesh lahabi mincha min hatbuah shenizra'a lifnei haomer la'achar hismalu shnei tanaim. So ordinarily, one should bring mincha of produce that was planted before the Omer and after two conditions have been met. Shekarav Omer b'Pesach, the Omer was brought on Pesach. V'gam shekarvu shtei lechem b'Shavuos, and also the shtei lechem was brought on Shavuos. 50 yom lachar mikain, 50 days after that. Hasafik b'halachazo hu im shnei hatanaim tzrichim levo b'seder zeh. That's interesting. So the suffix is whether these two conditions have to be met in order. Right, meaning that it was planted. That it was right. Because what's going on with this one? This one is experiencing a shtei lechem and then a havas Omer, not a havas Omer and then a shtei lechem. It's weird suffix. Yeah.
Farmers just like, why does he say it as a suffix?
That's why I'm assuming that he says it's a suffix because the Gemara itself doesn't paskin. That's my assumption. Let's see if Rambam Bekius says. Shazara achar shekarav Omer lifnei havas shtei lechem asher osa shana. Okay, fine. Suffix im meviin mimenu menachas l'chadchila v'im hevi kasher. Okay, no. Konam havas shtei lechem lifnei havas shtei lechem shoshana shachra. Yeah, I assume Rambam only says it's a suffix because the Gemara doesn't paskin. Because not like the Rambam is going to record his own suffix. I mean, he might, but it's strange.
It's still just really a weird thing playing out.
Yeah, right. When was the last time you seen the Rambam say there's a suffix? Okay. Onward. Actually, you know what? I just want to make sure that what I'm saying is correct. Let's just see if the Kesef Mishnah says it, and if not, then we will go on.
Mishnah.
Let's see if he exists first. No, not Zrayim. My mind was in Zrayim. We're at Avoda. Temidin ומוספין. Zion. What halach was that? Good, thank you. And Kesef Mishnah. Nope. You just. Oh, does your fancy Rambam have anything on the suffix? You look there while I'll look in the one Gemara source that it cites me. That it refers me to. Yeah. Okay, that's where this took me. Let's see if we could find it. Yeah. Okay. So it says. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's the thing. So it says by Rami Bar Chama. So Rami Bar Chama asked, "Shtei lechem mahu shiatiru shelo kesidran." So is the shtei lechem matir not in order? So Rashi says, oh, you don't need to write Rashi. Mahu shiatiru shelo kesidran lemikdash. Is it matir for the mikdash? Hechi de chalif alayhu shtei lechem kodem laomer. In a case where the shtei lechem comes before the omer. Okay, so hechi dami, what's the case? Which is a logical question. If I just read that, I was like, what? Someone just like ran up there and it just was like mocking the shtei lechem like before the omer? That's weird. So the answer is no. Hechi dami kagon dezar inhu bein haomer l'shtei lechem. For example, if it was planted between the omer and the shtei lechem, meaning the planting of the omer and the shtei lechem, hava shtei lechem, the chalif alayhu shtei lechem of Omer, and then the order of the shtei lechem and the Omer is reversed because you bring the shtei lechem and then the Omer will be brought. My kasidron, so what's the halacha? My kasidron sharian shlo kasidron lo sharian odilma shlo kasidron nami sharian. So is it? Does it only permit it? Oh, let's see. Is there a Rashi there? No. So in other words, my kasidron sharian So does the fact that it's done in order, is the order what makes it mutter, and not in order would not make it mutter? Or maybe not in order is also matir. So Amar Rabba Tashma im takriv minchas bikurim. So earlier in Vayikra 2:14, which is we read as the veiled reference to the Shtei Lechem, or sorry, to the Omer. That was in that the V'im, where the V'im means it's a chiyuv. Then it says that's the minchas Omer hakasa medaber. The Torah is speaking about the minchas Omer. Mehechan ba'a mehechan ba'a min hasorin. Where does it come from? From barley. Ata Omer min hasorim o eno ela min hachitim. Is it from barley or can it be from wheat? Rabbi Eliezer Omer ne'emar aviv b'mitzrayim v'ne'emar aviv l'doros. Ma aviv ha'amor b'mitzrayim se'orin af aviv ha'amor l'doros se'orin. Okay, so I just read this drasha elsewhere over Shabbos that just like in Mitzrayim when it says that the bara destroyed the crops and it singles out aviv, I think that's what it means, and that was barley. So to here, it is when it says aviv by the Omer, it is barley for the doros. Rabbi Kiva Omer matzinu yachid. Wait, was that it? Maybe that. No, I would think the Tashma is coming to answer this. How far is this going to go? Teiku. It's Teiku. Rambam Bekius. No, it goes through a bunch of rayas, but then it does end up with the Teiku, which is why the Rambam paskin this way. Yeah.
What makes a suffix from the Gemara any different than a suffix than anything else?
That's a good question.
It's just like what?
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
you would think. Well, this interesting thing here, right? Because here, do you mean like suffix deoraisa l'chumra, suffix deoraisa l'kula?
No. I mean, like, isn't what makes that more of a halacha? I mean, so like, was it? Because if you have a suffix now, what they're saying is the case, and it'll be like, what does it matter if, say, an Amor can tell you which way it is or isn't? It's fact it's a suffix now. Also, because like for Gemara, and sure, it might be. See, I have the case like this, which is something in amongst the Amoraim, but or at least for a lot of them, I assume you could ask a time, they just tell you easy halachos. Like, what make so why?
Right. It's
like, why would you record an halacha a suffix in the like? Why would you record a suffix from the Gemara like? Narrow suffix that exists today?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the only answer. I don't have a full answer to that, and I know where I might want to look though. But I'll tell you something that Rav Pesach once quoted, and he was quoting this from a ritva, but I don't know which ritva it is, so I don't know what to write down. That sometimes the Gemara ends with teiku, which is unresolved, and then sometimes the Gemara ends with kasha, and kasha also practically means unresolved, right? But Rav Pesach, it was either the ritva or the Rashba. That Rav Pesach said that the ritva or the Rashba mentioned that there was someone who wrote a sefer in which he tried to answer all of the kashas in the Gemara. Okay, and what Rav Pesach said is that there's a difference between how problematic, like how much of a suffix was it. Kasha means that they found it difficult, but they still thought that one could come up with an answer. But teiku meant that even the Amoraim couldn't figure out an answer, and so it's like a stronger thing. Now, I that's not fully answering your question, because why can't we figure something out? I'll tell you where we should look. Okay, let's see if you know this trivia. Do you know the earliest? And I think this is true. The earliest source that made like a dictionary of Gemara terminology?
Shurgon?
Oh, so it's possible that Shurgon did this. I don't know actually. The earliest one I know of is the מבוא Talmud of Shmuel Hanagid, which was one of the main functions of that, and I think it is on Bar Ilan.
Yeah.
Where would I find it?
Yeah, and I didn't have a specific reason. More.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a good guess. When I say early and it's about the Masorah, then that's a good guess. I'm looking in Bar Ilan. Where what's the section? Where do they keep these books? Oh, Sifrei Klalim B'Seder Hadoros. Maybe מבוא Talmud. No, that's reviews of Aknin. Okay, we have to do this the old-fashioned way. Not sorry. I might just need to look it up in the Gemara Brachos. It's a nice one that I like. Yeah, okay. You want one? Yeah. Thank you. I don't know if we'll find it, but anyway. Okay.
I'll get those giant ones have.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
What is it?
So in מבוא Talmud, which should be somewhere in the beginning of the back. No, not the beginning of the back.
Is these things? Wait, is it possible?
Yeah, מבוא Talmud. I don't know. In my edition at home, printed like right after the Gemara, but it doesn't look like that here. All right, then we got the Rush. We got Fiducia. Oh, here we go. It is so in my edition, it's after the Maharsha. Ah, I found it. Okay, so I don't know if yours has the same pagination as mine, but the first goal is to find it. Yeah. Probably yours doesn't have it, but here, can I see?
Well, I'm not quite sure what means, but it also was looking at like that first page with a list of stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it has it. The smaller version of the one I have does have it. Thanks. After Maharsha. Huh. Doesn't appear to have it. I'll show you what it looks like. Strange. Oh, that's a nice version, so it probably does. Oh, were you looking at?
I was trying to.
Oh, yeah.
Just starts to
Quicker, but,
we're gonna flip into what the.
yeah. I don't think these rows are harder ones.
Yeah. Cars need like table of contents.
Yeah. Oh, see, I would think it'd be somewhere around the Rambam's. Down pushing Shnayos. No. No, it doesn't look like it. Well, here's what it looks like. Just it's good to know what it looks like here. It's got these terms. See all these Gemara terms here. So yeah. So מבוא Talmud. So I'm just gonna be it's short. So it says. So he says the Teiku. The suffix she's topic Talmud b'shum davar halacha ve'in yodei lahashiv alav v'tishar halacha b'suffix imhu inyan. Sorry. So Teiku is when there's a doubt that the Talmud doubts on any matter of halacha, the ein yodei lahashiv alav, and doesn't know how to answer it. The tishar halacha b'suffix, and the halacha remains b'suffix. Imhu b'inyan mamun l'kulav, imhu b'inyan isur l'chumra. So if it's b'mamun, then we do go l'kula. So I guess we do treat it like a suffix in that sense. And if it's an Indian of Isser, we go l'chumra. But mammon hamutal b'safik cholki moso bala hadinin b'shavet, and mammon that is in safik is split by the litigants equally. V'yish omrim hamot mechaver alav haraya. Some say that we apply hamot mechaver alav haraya. But ever Isser v'heter kishiyavu b'safik hazeh yamidehu al ha'isser. And if it's a davar Isser, then we establish it on the Isser. Let me just see if there's a commentary that explains anything here. So I mean, what it sounds like, and I again, it's not fully answering your question, but what?
The idea of there being a commentary on Gemara for dummies.
Yeah. What do you call it? Okay, yeah, I'm not finding anything. So what I'm getting from this, and this is not answering your question, is that it sounds like we can't poskin of vadai when the Gemara itself is in suffix. You know, when Ravina and Ravashi say it's a suffix. Why? That is iyun, you know. But yeah, I don't know if it's like one of those things like Tanai Amoraim, like overruling Tanaim, and we can't overrule the Siyum Hashas if it leaves it suffix. I'll see if I can find anything. Okay, so let's go on. V'chein tevua. This is the last halacha in the harvesting stuff. Okay, I know what chantu means. I know it means to embalm, but that's not what it means here. Probably means to dry out then. Let's see. produce that was in the land, the earth, and v'chantu aleha. I don't know what the aleha is. Let's see. V'chantu aleha. Shais b'karka v'hishrisha kidin lifnei ha'omer. So it took root before the Omer properly. Uv'kach hutra lamalcha hadyot, and that's why it is mutter for ordinary uses. V'chantu aleha o hinetu alim shala. And it's chantu aleha is aleha hechelu lahavshiel. Oh, aleha, like its leaves. Its leaves began to says ripen, but oshirak hechelu latzut, or began to blossom. Oh, so I think this is a case where like if you have grain in that's growing, so what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to harvest it and then make the grain into wheat. But if you leave it too long, then its kernels will sprout, right? And that's that's beyond the amount of time. So I think chantu might mean its leaves dry out, and heinetu alim shala means that it blossoms. Let's just see if this is correct. Chantu 20. If grain was going to the ground, its leaves began to form. Okay, fine. His leaves began to form. That's it. Leaves began to form. I don't know what lashon chantu is, or they began to blossom at the time of the bringing of the 2 loaves. Okay, so then what happens? It's doubtful whether the blossoming of the leaves or the ripening or the forming of the leaves is like taking root, and you may bring menachos from it, or if it's not considered like taking root, lefikach lo yavi, therefore you may not bring it, and if you do bring it, then it does achieve ritzoy. Let's just see the facts we're missing here. Harzeh safek, why? Hashrasha satvua levada kodem havas shtei alechem ina maspika kadei lahatir es hatvua lemenachos. So the taking root of produce alone before the bringing of the shtei alechem is not sufficient to be matir the tavua for menachos. Ella tchilas havshalas hapri. It has to be the beginning of the. Oh, I go what's going on. It takes root, then the leaves start to form, and then the grain comes. So certainly when the grain comes, then you're in the clear. No, I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
I think it's more like what. Obviously, if it takes root after the Omer, you can't have it.
Right.
The thing is, if it starts to sprout, is that just you taking root?
Do you mean because? Why would it not? But if the case though is where it took root before, right?
Isn't you have these things from a plant that took root before the Omer?
Yeah. Then so why isn't that good enough?
So because maybe now that these new seeds now they're sprouting,
it's like a new taking root.
Isn't like, yeah, be considered a new plant? Isn't now these seeds just a new plant? So they're effectively taking root after the Omer because these seeds sprout.
Right.
So you say, oh, this is a new plant.
Right. I hear the theory. I hear that. Let's just see if he comments on it. Kodem havas shtei alechem ina maspika kadei lahatir satvua lemenachos ela tchilas havshalas hapri. V'yesh safek he'im hanatzas o hanatzas ha'elim nechshavas k'tchilas havshalas hapri. Sounds like he's saying that the question is whether it's considered the beginning of the ripening of the fruit. But that's not enough of an answer to me. I like what you're saying. I don't know. What's Oros Gedolim? Never heard of that. Is that Rav Cook's book? Oros Urim Gedolim? I don't know. Anyway. V'hakotzir kodem k'tzir ha'omer eno loke v'hakatzir kasher. So if you harvest before the cutting of the Omer, you don't get malchus. I wonder why not. Is it because, Are
we talking about dafka that day?
No, I think like in that season. Oh, probably why not? Here's my guess, is that there's no isser. It's not like it's us. Well, it's usser, but the isser stems from the fact that the Omer has to be the Reishis K'tzirchem. So it's like that's a requirement in the Omer, and then that generates the isser. It's not like there's like a losase of harvesting before bringing the Omer. Let's see if that's what Rambam Bekius says. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. That the isser of harvesting the Omer is not explicitly stated in the Torah as a prohibition. It's learned out from the essay. Right. That's what I was saying, is that what really the Omer has to be the first of the harvest. So it implies that you can't harvest before the Omer, and that's why it's usher. And a lav that comes from an asay is like an asay, and you don't get malchus. So it is usher, but it's isser that's not explicit, and it comes from an asay, so you can't get malchus on it. Okay, now we get to our topic. Well, I mean, the whole thing was our topic, but new topic. Mitzvah saseh, lispor sheva shabbosos tmimos miyom havas Omer. So it's a positive mitzvah to count 7 complete weeks from the day that the Omer is brought. Shnemar, as it says, usfartem lachem mimacharas haShabbos. You should count for yourselves from the day after the Pesach, after the Yom Tov. Umitzvah limnos hayamim im hashavuos. It's a mitzvah to count the days with the weeks. Shnemar, as it says, tispuru chamishim yom, says you should count 50 days. Umitchilas hayom monin, and from the beginning of the day we count. Lefikach mone belayla, therefore we count at night. Milel shisha asar b'Nisan, from the night of the 16th of Nisan. I did a whole rough piece on this also, that it's not a din. I think we think of it, I don't know but people think of it as the mitzvah is to count at night, right? But the Rambam holds that it's a mitzvah to count at the beginning of the day, and the beginning of the day is night. And there are nafkaminas. Like that, what was the nafkamina that he brought? Not for the Rambam, but for, he wanted to say for Tosfos, that there's a Tosfos that says that you can count from Plag HaMincha, and it might even be better to do so. You know, he wanted to say if it's a din of being Lila, you count with a bracha. He's saying if it's a din in being Lila, then why would you be allowed to do that? Like maybe B'diavad you might be Yote or whatever, but like, you know, so he was saying how since it's a din in Tchilas Hayom, not like it being Tesa Kochavim or whatever, then like it counts as Tchilas Hayom from Plag for Tosos. Now going to the Rambam. Shachach v'lo mana b'layla. Did I read this? Milo shisha asar b'Nisan. Yeah, from the 16th, the 16th of Nisan. Shachach v'lo mana b'layla mona b'yom. If he forgot and didn't count at night, then he counts during the day. Ve'ein monin ela me'omed, and he should only count while standing up. V'imana miyoshev yatsa, and if he counted while sitting down, he's yotze. So that's also another funny thing. Like, what's the havamina? Like, okay, fine, you have to halach that you have to stand up, but what's the havamina that you're not yotze if you did it sitting down? That's weird, right? You would think that the ikr is that you do a ma'aseh sfira, and you're doing a ma'aseh sfira when you're sitting down. It's just, you know. Okay, so let's look at the makbilis here, because it looks like there's a lot. Oh no, there's not. He'ara, I thought that the whole thing was from that. So footnote. Elu halachos hayachidus b'mishnah Torah b'inyan sfiras Omer. Oh, you gotta love. You know that they love doing this. Ve'imehen zeichel min hagei avilos b'minyan sfiras Omer. They're making a frowny face, right? That's a big thing that you'll get a lot of the people who are like followers of Temani halacha. Mm-hmm. And I'm not criticizing people who are Temani. I'm saying like the people, you know, like the I don't know if you ever encounter these people on the internet, but the people who are like Temani, like revivalists, and like they're very like vocal about how like halacha has been like, you know, corrupted.
I assume, or at least I thought barbecue was part.
Wait, just 1 second. Hold on just 1 second. I'm going to pause the recording. Anyway, so I've seen a lot of people on the internet being very vocal about how like we shouldn't do any of the Avelis Sphere because the Rambam doesn't bring it down, you know, and that's, I mean, it's true, the Rambam doesn't bring it down, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, you know. There's a lot of other halachic sources of minhag than the Rambam. Okay. Anyway, but I just find it amusing that the footnote pointed that out, you know. Okay, like he's pointing out what's not there. I mean, he doesn't do that consistently, right? Okay, Shava Shavos Timimos, Shiva Shavos Shalemim, 7 complete weeks. Okay, Limnos Hayamim Im Hashvos Kagon Hayom Chamisha Asar Yom La Omer Shem Shnei Shavos V'Yom Echad. Okay, that's not the lashon that we do it, but today is 15. Wait, is today actually 15 days? Yeah, right? Today's 15 days. I think so, right? Does this really work out? Hold on. Oh, it's 16. 16. Never mind. Yeah. All right. Of the Omer, which are 2 weeks and 1 day. Okay. Shnemar, as it says, Tismur Chamishim Yom. Don't worry, I counted it correctly last night. I just do it off the email. Tisbur Chamishim Yom Zem Minyan Yamim. Okay, that's a minyan of days. Uva pasuk hakodem nemar usfartim lechem sheva shabbosos tumimos zem minyan shavuos. Okay, fine. So the pasuk mentions both days and weeks, so we count days and weeks. All right. Lefikach mone balayla. Therefore, we count at night. Kivan shehayamama maschila balayla, because the day starts at night. Okay. Shachach v'lo mana balayla mona biyam. Uva teshuvaso. Ooh, we got a tshuva. Uva teshuvaso hosif haRambam. Okay, so the Rambam adds in a tshuva. So this is tshuva. I don't know what the mem samach stands for here. 5,300 Savyat. Oh, mispar? Yeah. 5,300 B'Ksavyat HaSifriya Halumis. Maybe also Hagon Rav Kafech B'Mahad Raso. Let's just see if the Al HaTorah's tshuva thing brings it down, and then we could read the whole thing. I guess it doesn't bring it down. So either it's not here yet, either it's not available yet, or let's just see. Okay, hold on. It's funny it doesn't say the number. I mean, it says it says the number. It doesn't say the like simon. Okay, well, fine. We'll read it here. So the Rambam writes in a tshuva that the mitzvah is from the beginning of the night. The imlo safar. I think safar, not sipar. But if he didn't count from the beginning of the night, yispor bebracha b'shashani yiskar b'layla. He counts with a bracha from the time he remembers at night. V'im shachach, and if he forgets that, yispor lemachra lo bracha. Then you count the next day without a bracha. V'im shachach lispor layla echad o shnei leilos. And if he forgot to count one night or two nights, yamshich levarech balayla al hayom. Then he should continue to count at night on the day that he is present in regularly, like usual, until the end of the Mesfira. Okay, fine. So we see two things from here. One is that the Rambam, is not like the Bahag, but like no one's like the Bahag, right? Bahag holds that once you forget a day, then you can't continue with the bracha. That's a das yachid that we're all choshesh for. But the Rambam holds you can continue. So Rambam holds you forget at night, then you if you forget at the beginning of the night, you can count later on in the night with the bracha. If you forget all night during the day, you don't count with the bracha. And then you keep on counting with the bracha. Even if you forget an entire day and night or two nights, whatever day you resume on, then you continue counting with the bracha. But you don't say this thing at the end, which I don't think is our minhag to say, right? We don't say at the end, Shiva Shavuos Tamimin. Do we? Yeah.
Like, does the exact phrasing even matter? Like, I thought it was just about what day it is.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. Let's do some fun Rambam Siddur stuff. I'll give you Rambam Siddur because they have an interesting thing here. Yep. I think it's after Mari in the same place that it is. It is on page Kuf Samech Aleph. Or Kuf Samech is when it starts and brings out all of our halachos. Okay, and then look at this interesting thing on Kuf Samech Beis. I don't know why he does this, but he has whoever's publishing the Siddur, they have it in Aramaic. Haidana Chad Yoma B'Umra. All right, or Haidana. Shita asar yome b'umra di'inun trein shavue usrein yome. Yeah, so it's interesting. And then look at the very end. Yeah, the very end on the 49th day. Haidna arba'im v'sisha yome b'umra di'inun shiva shavue shalme. So he says the word complete. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, okay. I thought they had more comments about this. I was reading the footnotes on this earlier. Yeah, look at okay, on Kuf Samach Beis, page Kuf Samach Beis, footnote Tuf Lamed Aleph. Okay, which is up until this point in the Siddur, then they were just quoting the Mishnah Torah, but now it says Kansim Rabbeinu es Devarav B'inyan Sfiras Omer. So that's where the Rambam's words end on Sfiras Omer. Okay, skip the brackets. V'lo pirit kan be'eze lashon monim yamim u'shvuos. The Rambam does not specify what language you use to count yamim u'shvuos. Ach l'chora afshar lahavin mistimas devarav shemonim b'lashon hakodesh v'lo b'lashon arami. Okay, so from the Rambam you would assume that you count in lashon hakodesh, not in Aramaic. Nevertheless, near Sha'afladas Rabbeinu inze ma'akev imispor b'lashon hakodesh or b'lashon arami. According to the Rambam, it doesn't matter. It's not ma'akev if you count in lashon hakodesh or Aramaic. Ha'ikar shemevin mashu humone. The ikar is that you count whatever you understand what you're counting. Rav Sadigon b'siduro hela lispor b'lashon arami. Okay, so Sadigon in his siddur says you count in Aramaic. That's interesting. B'ksuv hachi b'sidur rashban. I don't know who that is. B'ksuv hachi b'tach alil. However you pronounce that, it's written like that in the Yemenite Sidurim. I don't know who this is. Umikevin shelo bir lanu Rabbeinu be'ezei lashon hu sofer hetakin kan bifnim kalashon hatakaliyo b'lashon arami hitakin she'af he kain he dato. So since they don't know what language the Rambam counted in, then they use the Aramaic like the Yemenite Sidurim, and then he says Amnam Nira in the brackets. Shahalchu bezeh hataklil achar Sadigon says it seems like the Yemenite Sidurim went after Sadigon, kamuchzach biada mikedem, which they had possession of from earlier. Kivin shestam shesasam bezeh Rabbeinu kinis galael, because the Rambam didn't specify. Ulam b'makam shegila bezeh Rabbeinu dato achar Rabbeinu. But whenever the Rambam did reveal his opinion, then the Yemenites went after the Rambam. Shkemetzina l'Rav Sadigon b'siduro gabi bittul chametz shekasaf she'adif lamer b'lashon arami. So interesting. So Sadigon says for Bittul Chametz you say it in Aramaic, but then Rambam says it in Hebrew, and the Yemenites went after the Rambam. Yeah.
The Icarus to do in language to understand, then why would? Isn't it silly to do it now in Aramaic? I mean,
yeah, I know, right?
It's like in the 400s, okay. It's like,
yeah.
Now,
right. So the funny thing is, if this were anyone but the Rambam, I would assume that there's a reason why people do it in Aramaic, which is because if you hold that this is just a zecher l'korban, then Aramaic would make sense to do it in the lashon of galus. You know, like I could see why that minhag would arise to do it in Aramaic. You know,
sure. Like maybe by language galus, like it was a tikana.
No, not tikana, but just that was the minhag. Like same way like halach ma'anya. I mean, I've heard that's for halach ma'anya is. I mean, I know there's a lot of reasons why they say that's in Aramaic, but that's where we are. That phrase in the Haggadah came about in the galus as an acknowledgement of the galus, because it says, you know, hashtahacha lashon haba ba'arad Yisrael.
Yeah. Maybe next the way I often think these videos from is just I assume anything that there's no reason to do here they was being Aramaic, not for anything about Aramaic, just because no one spoke Hebrew.
That could be also, yeah. But then I guess the question would be, and then
it'd just be cultural inertia,
right? Yeah. All right. I'll ask some of my tefillah people what the different practices were. Okay, but you see from here that the Rambam does have tamimim in the end, and if you missed a day fully, you can't say tamimim at the end. And then Omer means when you're standing. Okay. Chavdalad mitzvah zo al kol ish Yisrael b'chol makom u'b'chol zman. This mitzvah is on every Jewish male in every place and in all times. V'nashim v'avanim p'turim min sfiras Omer, and women and servants are patur from sfiras Omer because it's zman grama. V'tzarich levarach b'chol laila asher tishan b'mitzvah v'tivan sfiras Omer. Kodem sheyispor. Okay, before you count. And this again, my question. I know we read this before. My question still is, according to the Rambam, why is it all sfiras Omer? Why not lispor as Omer? Which I don't have an answer for yet. I did find a lead, but I don't have an answer yet. Manav lo berach yata. If he counted and didn't make the bracha, he's yotev enochos or mevarach. He doesn't go back and say it again. Also weird. What's the havamina there? Right. That ordinarily we say that the birkas mitzvah is not ma'akev. So why would the Rambam imply that it is ma'akev here? Or why would he imply a havamina that it's ma'akev? He also holds it's not ma'akev. Right, he says manav lo berach yata. Well, obviously it's not yata because no birkas mitzvah is ma'akev. Yeah.
All right, so it's just wants to think of das, so therefore you need the bracha for the das.
But you don't need the bracha for the das, right? If you have, let's say I don't make a bracha and I just have total das that I'm counting.
Or hearing that truma is bracha is ma'akev.
Oh yeah, according to the Rambam.
Yeah, not sure.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I thought the Rambam shita was that none of them were ma'akev. Let's see footnote here. B'chol makom ein mitzvah totally ba'aretz. Okay, so the mitzvah is not totally ba'aretz. B'chol zman gam b'zman she'ein hamikdash kayam mipnei she'eina toliyah b'hakravas Omer, because it's not totally on the hakravas Omer. So that's again the machlokes rishonim that everyone else, I don't know everyone else, but most of them hold that it is totally on the hakravas Omer, and therefore it's a derabanan b'zman is that. And then nashim avadim peturim mipnei shehi mitzvah aseh she'atoli b'zman she'anashim peturos mimenu. Uve'eved kanani chayav rak b'mitzvah she'anashim chayavos behen. Yeah. Okay. Also interesting havmina that it's b'chol makom, right? You might think that since it pertains to a phenomenon that's totally ba'aretz, then the mitzvah would only be ba'aretz. Yeah.
Why do we not do 2 different days? Like this is the first and the fifth, like the first and the second and the third.
Right. So that's the famous Baal Ma'or, right? About why we don't count 2 days out of Suffolk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a famous Baal Ma'or on that. And I actually, I think the Hari Kedem piece that I wanted to do today, he talks about the same Baal Ma'or, but the Baal Ma'or, I might have a copy. Hold on. I used to teach that in or my quiz. Okay, it's going to take me too long to find it, but the Baal Ma'or says, I think he gives 2 answers. I haven't done that this year. That one is, since we only do it as a zecher and it's derabanan, then we're not machmir. And which does not apply to the Rambam because the Rambam holds it still raisa. The second reason he gives is he says that if you did that, then it would turn out that on Shavuos you'd be counting 49 days out of Suffolk, and that would be a zilzul to Shavuos del raisa. That's Baal Ma'or's answer.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know according to the Rambam why we don't. That's an interesting thing. I wonder if there's a piece on that. Let me just see. Do we have time? Okay, yeah. Let's do this. I have one more page in the packet, which is a very short Rambam in the more Nevuchim, where he explains the reason for Spears Omer. Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work. That maybe the places where there was a suffix, they would never even count in the first place. Isn't they just say?
I don't know. I wouldn't think that they would abolish the mitzvah.
I also said abolish the mitzvah. Can you count if you Can you actually count if you don't know the day?
Well, wouldn't you just make the bracha and then count twice?
But I think if you're counting from the day afterwards, if you don't know if it's the day, can you do a suffix?
Well, you would start on the second night of Pesach the way we do, right? And that would be possibly day 1 or possibly day 0, right? And then you would count the next day, and it would be possibly day 2 or day 1, and then so on.
But the thing is that maybe you'd say, since you're not marking the day at all, you have no clue what it is, so you can't really say anyone's the real one. You're just doesn't count as accounting.
You could say that. I mean, it's just I'd be surprised that they would do away with a whole mitzvah. I mean, you know what that reminds me of? Reminds me of, it's not exactly the same, but you know how the Gemara by the Arbakosos has the machlokes about do you do the first 2 or the last 2, right?
So make it both.
So we do both. So the Ran says, why don't we go Suffolk Derabanan Lakula and not do either one of them? He says, because then that would uproot the entire mitzvah.
No, I guess I thought maybe just leaving counts the mitzvah anyway, and that
you're talking about for our case here. Yeah. No, that I understand. That's a different svara. That's why it's not exactly the same. But again, I especially given the fact that they're doing it as a zecher lemikdash, certainly doing it as a zecher, you have a lot of leeway there, but the question is on the Rambam, why doesn't he do a double count? You know who I wonder? Okay, let's do this. I was going to do the Rav thing today. Let's do this. Let's look at this one more Nevuchim thing I have, and then tomorrow we'll do the Rav thing. And I also want to see if there's a Rav thing on this question or on any Rav thing on the Rambam's shitos. shita about Sfiras Omer, and we could do those, and then that'll be our last day that we spend on Sfiras Omer. All right, so let's just do this last more Nebuchim thing here. It's not going to do the whole thing, just short. So this is in Perek about the. Oh, we can look at the pictures. We can do the pictures after this. Yeah. All right. First, we'll start with this. This is in the Tamei mitzvos for the mitzvos in Zmanim. So he says, if you look at footnote 12 and you look 2 lines under that, first one line is Shavuos. Shavuos hu yom matan Torah. Shavuos is the day of Matan Torah. Umigdulas oso hayom v'rumamuso, due to the greatness of this day and its exaltedness, nisapru hayamim im harishon l'chagim. Sorry, min harishon l'chagim ad lo. We count the days from the first of the festivals until it, meaning from Pesach until it. Just like if you're awaiting a loved one to arrive, then you count the days until their arrival, days and the hours. This is why the reason why we count the Sfiras Omer from the day that we were taken out of Mitzrayim until the day of Matan Torah. You know what's weird? He says he puts it in terms of Pesach and Yetzias Mitzrayim, not in terms of the Havas Omer. Right, he says we count from the Rishon of the Chag, and then here he says from the day we were taken out of Mitzrayim. Really, it's from the day after we were taken out of Mitzrayim. But it's funny he doesn't mention the Omer here, other than calling it Sfiras Omer. Shehu haya hamatara v'hatachli shel yitziasam, which is the goal and the objective of their leaving Mitzrayim. Va'avi eschem elai. Hashem says, "I will bring you to me." I will bring you to me, meaning I guess at Matan Torah. V'lo haya oso hamamad ha'atzum el yom echad, and that great, mamad. I don't know. I translate mamad harsina. The great, like, there's got to be a good word that is really just standing for like stationing at the great. I don't know, whatever. Establishment, kind of, yeah. Was only one day. Kach zachrunu b'chol shana yom echad. Therefore, we remember it all year. Every year at one day. So I never heard an explanation before about why Shavuos is only one day. So he's saying since Matan Torah was only one day, then we don't celebrate it with a week festival, we celebrate it with a one-day festival. That's interesting. That I guess if you did 7 days of Matan Torah holiday, that would be like diluting or warping the idea that this was only a one-day event. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at pictures. All right, so we have here this one we already looked at. This is the Ketiras HaOmer. HaOmer haya nixar b'mamad miyuchad b'motza yom tov rishon shel Pesach. Yeah.
I was just thinking, Shavuos was a week longer. That never mind.
Okay. V'chol hayar sasmuchos l'sham miskantos kadesh yeh nixar b'esa gadol v'kotzin shalosh in sorim b'shalosh anashim b'shalosh kupas b'shalosh magalos. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we did that. Looked at that before. Next we have Hachanas Omer ba'azara. So this is when they're you could see here. After the harvesting of the Omer, so they bring the Omer in the baskets to the Azara. So you got the baskets there. They beat it with sticks, because that's the guy beating it there. So that's what he's doing. He's toasting it over the fire in a cylinder with holes, the small hatir on the left. V'tochanin es ha-gargarim b'rechaim, then they grind it with a millstone. Umanifim es ha-kemach b'yud gimel nafos, and then they sift it with the 3 sieves. Is that going to be the next picture? Yeah. No, that's not the next picture. But what do you say? B'tzir miyamin. Is there a guy with a sieve there? Oh, I guess that's what he's doing here. He's sieving it. Okay, fine. Yeah. All right. Next, we have, this must be the frankincense and the oil. Matan lo chemin v'kometz levona al minchas omer. Look, clean zehi saron mishal solas hasorim ubolin oso below chemin. Right there. B'yom shishasar b'nisan. V'nosi alav kometz levona kishar menachos. All right. So that's guy sprinkling the levona. And then here we have hanafas omer. Nemar b'Torah v'heniv es haomer l'finei Hashem. Hakoin hameniv es haomer omid b'mizrach hamizbeach upanav lamarav umolich mevi malay morid. Yeah, so he's bringing it in. It's funny. I know this intellectually because I've read these halachos. I didn't picture him doing it in the bowl. I pictured stalks of Omer. I think because I think of the lulav, but where the waving happens way past the processing. Okay, and then here is Hagashas HaOmer, the bringing of the Omer close. Achar shehenif es HaOmer b'mizrach hakohen holech lamar hamizbeach u'megish es HaOmer keneged chudash al keren amar rabbis during skashar menachos, and he puts it on the southwest corner of the menachos. Okay, and then we have the last one. Oh, this is the shtei lechem, okay, which we haven't read. Oh, wait. But yeah, we didn't read these halachos, but we'll read it anyway. Be'ez hava shtei lechem l'azara. So the Levim open up with shiur. They begin with a shiur on the day of the bringing the shnei kvasei atzeres and nitzach hayayin. The Kohanim would sound the trumpets. When would they sing shira? Al kol olos hatzibur hachovav al shalmei atzeres. On all of the olos of the tzibur and on the shlamim of Shavuos, be'es nisach hayayin, at the time when they did the nisach hayayin. We may have others kulan v'rosh chadashim hayu hakonim tokim v'chatotros b'shas hakorban v'alavim omrim shira. B'sir nire hamamuna kishu omen al keren hamizbeach umenif b'sudar shebeado. So you can see the coin on that guy there, right there, on the waving with his flags to signal os l'mshorim ulama nagnim, as a sign to the singers and to the instrumentalists of Toch Bashir to begin the song. When they give the wine to the libation pourers. So the two Kohanim would stand on the table of the fats, two chatotros in their hand. This Kohen would stand on the corner of the mizbeach with the flags in hand. Taku v'heri v'taku shacha hamanasek lanasek meni haskan b'sudar. Okay, let's have this whole signaling system. Hikish zeh b'tziltel v'taku elah v'chatotros v'dibur halashim avalimim shir. Yay. Okay, fine. Was this also relevant? No, this is about the shtei lechem, not for us. Okay, so plan for tomorrow. Do any rough stuff we can find. I'm going to try to also answer the Rambam on the lashon of al and lasos. And that would be the last day we plan to spend, at least on the Omer. Okay.
One more day till I finish the